Welcome back to the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. We're officially in off-season mode, and we're excited to be back here with you guys. It's been a quiet, peaceful playoffs for me. Enjoying the one of the best World Series of at least the last 25 years, non-Red Sox, obviously. But with that being said, we've got a lot to talk about today in the Red Sox world, in the baseball world, and joined by some pretty awesome people here. I've got Jordan as well with me, and we have a very special guest as well. Joining us is Ed Hand from the Pod by the River, as well as a fellow Beyond the Monster contributor. And he's here today to debut his amazing MLB free agency tracker and talk a little bit about the offseason. Ed, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life these days.
Yeah, happy to be here, Matt. Happy to be here, Jordan. It's always a homecoming here because I got my start on Pesky Report and did it for I think two or three seasons, and it's I'll always have fond memories of it. I'm glad that the logo is still really cool. You guys changed the intro. I like the intro. That's much better than the MIDI Down by the River song we have for some reason for 30 seconds. I really need to shorten that for this season. But no, it's good. It's good to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you, man. We should get a tribute video for the next time we have you on and play some of your highlights and see how emotional it gets.
It's just me with a really big beard and Hogdale with like a striped shirt, because that's like I was going through old pictures to try to do something similar to that for with him going to Barstool and everything, and that was kind of the main thing I noticed was like, oh wow, I didn't shave that entire winter. I forgot about that.
Now I have to ask, because I feel like I just only know you with a beard. Is the clean shaven Ed like your go-to look typically, or are you typically a bearded man?
So it used to be that during the winter I would grow a beard out, and during the summer I would shave. But then I had a kid, and he will pull on anything that's close to him. So I got kind of tired of him tugging on my beard. So I chopped it off, and honestly, I've kind of liked it. I feel like I look younger without it, which I'm starting to reach that age where you want to look a little bit younger.
Well, I think you have a very chiseled jawline, so
That's nice of you to say.
was definitely hiding behind the beard a little bit there.
No, it's nice of you to say. It's honestly for the beard was more just because of I was lazy. It does take like the extra time to shave every day, but like it's worth it.
Feels like the rare time that Matt's the one with the most facial hair of the group of people, because
Very true.
for all that time with me, I had a beard. We know Kev's got a beard, and yeah, just weird seeing you with the most facial hair. You're the only one with facial hair actually currently. I mean, I got some stubble, I guess, but
yeah. This is a gift that keeps on giving, just to the YouTube audience right now. So
yeah.
I mean, I've heard the episodes with you and Doink. I'm pretty sure you have more facial hair.
Probably, but go with
That's true. That's true. Yep, more than likely. I haven't asked recently. I feel like that's
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it's been weeks since the Red Sox since we've recorded. So who knows, right?
It's true. Anything could happen.
Hope springs eternal, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you guys have any specific rankings of any World Series that kind of can? I mean, we can talk about the playoffs in general, but does this 2025 World Series rank up there as like one of the best you've witnessed? For me, it is. I know. I don't know how you guys feel.
I had this conversation with someone earlier today, and I hadn't really thought about it to compare to other teams. I can say unequivocally it's better than any of the if you're looking at like the actual like gameplay, it's unequivocally better than any of the Red Sox World Series because all of those postseasons they peaked in the ALCS. Like those were the amazing ALCSs for all four of
Right.
them.
Mhm.
Kind of duds as far as World Series go. And that's if you're a Red Sox fan, that's not a bad thing. It's just it wasn't particularly close. They kind of blew everybody out of the water. Like the most interesting game I think in any of those was the 18 inning one against LA, and they lost that.
Right.
But I think I was just thinking of like ones that I've watched. The only two that really come to mind as being comparable are 2001 and 2016. And 2016, I think like people forget just how exciting that one was, and it definitely has the history factor on it with the Cubs and everything. But recency bias is pretty real, and it was just such a well played series, such an interesting series with a lot of different subplots going on, and I'm I'm thinking of like just personal enjoyment. I think that's the most fun I've had watching a World Series that I can remember. I don't know about you guys.
I'd like to add 2019 to the two you picked because that series with the Nats and the Astros, neither team won a home game. So that was pretty sick. Like Howie Kendrick go ahead home run late in that game. I felt like to a degree why this World Series, and maybe I'm being a little bit prisoner of the moment, it's so high up there, is I didn't feel like when I was watching these games at any point that one of those teams that didn't belong there. Like it was
Mm.
just like it was like a daily reminder that that there's a reason these were the two teams standing in the end. I mean, I know game one ended up being a blowout, but it was close until the middle innings, and then the Blue Jays ran away with it. But then after that, it was just back and forth the entire series. Yamamoto obviously was a killer in this series, won 3 games all on the road. He was a machine. And then, just the way game 7 ended as well was just like Miguel Rojas ties it in the 7th or in the 9th inning. Like somehow that feels a little bit more outrageous than Rajai Davis's home run in game 7. It's just the way that series went. It's definitely up there. I think I'd probably put for me, I'd probably put 16 if we're taking out Red Sox series, because for me, obviously my enjoyment's higher. Like those are
Right,
the four.
right.
Those are the four. But if we're taking out the Red Sox series, 16, 25, 19 are probably my 3. I didn't watch the 01 World Series. I was 1. So,
Yeah,
but
I'm old.
I mean, definitely historically up there as well.
I I used to watch the World Series every single year, but I personally just like didn't have any of them that stood out to me other than the Red Sox ones. So I don't know like if just the level of focus that I had wasn't the same, but I feel like of the last, since 2020, this is like when I've really been paying attention to the ins and outs of the league a little bit closer. I think this is definitely the most interesting one for me. And it doesn't really even come close, but I think to your point.
I think when you're talking about it every day, like when you have like, like you're in the group chats and you're just following it because you have to talk about it, you do, I think, appreciate things a little bit more. It sort of forces you to
Yeah.
pay closer attention. And there's definitely something to that.
Yeah, that's kind of where my mind goes is like now that I have more of the ins and outs of the grind of the 162 and you're following every team and every move and you have, tweet notifications on for every little bit of news and it's like, you know, I
Dude, it's
think
a grind. It's a grind for them. It's a grind for us.
It
Like just
really
like
is.
following this stuff. It's like I've never been so happy for a season to be over. Like not even because of anything, like it was great baseball. It was, but like it's just you're constantly following it. You're watching every game and you need a nap every now and then.
you really do.
That you
Yeah.
do.
So with the season finally coming to a close, um, we're looking at what's ahead, what's in store for 2026. And Ed, you have this free agency tracker that you put together every year. How many
Sure.
years have you been doing this now?
I think this is 8, I think. I started in 2018, so that would be this is either 7 or 8.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense because it depends on if it was going into
Yeah,
that
no, it was the
season or
year.
not.
I mean, it was the year JD Martinez because I remember he was the last guy left. He was like in my top 10, and I just never was able to cross him out.
So, with that being said, what inspired you to create this tracker?
So when I was a kid, Yahoo, and I actually think it might have been Passan that was doing it, had this really great free agency list where it would follow everybody and it would have write-ups for everybody, which was really cool. I think it ended up, I mean, it wasn't like as many. I try to get to 300 every year because I'm a sicko. I think this went to like 150, 160, but you'd get some like third string catchers by the end of that, where you could kind of tell that like the person editing it was just like, I don't care about these guys, and was just like I start doing that by the end of mine too, where I'm like, I don't know, he's a lefty. Like, do what you want. Like, this guy sucks. Like, I don't know, man. But
Quite
you have
literally,
that
a
big, yeah,
169 Mike Clevenger
yeah.
profile sucks.
He
That is
does.
it. That's the
He
last guy on the
does.
list.
Like where's the lie, you know?
Yeah.
But I just kind of miss the detail of that. Like even like MLB Trade Rumors does a really good job, but they stop at 50. And once non-tenders happen and people opt out and everything, you have way more than 50 guys that are good, that are interesting, that are not necessarily difference makers in like the classical sense, like this is a guy that's gonna put your team over the top, but they're guys that can play very significant roles in the postseason for you and getting to the postseason. And there are guys that are rebound. Like Max Scherzer wouldn't have been in the top 50 for. He's not in the top 50 for me, but he started Game 7 of the World Series this year, so like that would be weird to be leaving him off of the list or someone like that. So
Right.
it just seemed like it was leaving a lot of people on the table, a lot of intrigue on the table, and nobody else was doing it. And this was before I was on Twitter. I had a I think it was a Tumblr I was doing the first year, and then I
Hmm.
did like a blog spot or something like that, and then I switched to. I've done it like on a lot of different things. I think I did it on Medium one year, and then the last 2 years I've been doing it on Beyond the Monster, which has been pretty good, just because they email it out whenever like something's completed with it, which is really helpful. That's the thing. Like I've been doing this for a long time. This is by far the biggest audience I've ever had, just through like Twitter, basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just seemed like there wasn't really anybody else doing it. And then, do you guys will you guys buy the magazines when they come out? I know people don't really read magazines anymore, but this was a thing for me when I was a kid, that they'd have like the Sporting News would come out with something. Lindy's, I believe, is still doing it. You had all of these different magazines that had all of the players ranked in it. I love that. It was the best way for me to do research because I could write it up and take little notes in it and everything. And you can't really do that now. So this is kind of me taking notes of how I take notes on players, because you get to know them when you're following them every day like this.
Yeah, I was never into buying magazines for like the entirety of MLB, but for baseball cards, I would do very similar thing. Like
Yeah,
every year they would come out like the Beckett's and yeah.
Beckett still does. This was specifically for the most part fantasy baseball,
Mm,
which has a different value system, I guess, than real baseball. They don't really. I mean, I guess some leagues do, but like defense, for instance, doesn't really matter that much.
right.
Stolen bases are disproportionately valuable, just stuff like that. So, but you still get to know the players through that, and I always like like just seeing where guys stacked up and everything, like where I guess how the writers reviewing them. And I mean, Baseball Prospectus does it now too, but they're not really ranked. It's just profiles team by team, and that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do an awesome job of kind of filling this space out, and you'll. I think this is the type of thing that could continue to get bigger and bigger every year um, that you do it. And I know you put a lot of time and effort into it, and you're not necessarily getting paid to do it, right? You're just doing it because you love it,
Love of the
and
game, man.
it's an impressive work, And I think it's kind of interesting how social media these days is giving so many platforms, like you talked about it yourself. You've tried or you've put this out for 8 years now and over multiple different platforms, but the largest audience you have is through Twitter. and you're finding more and more of that with content creators and people that are putting out reporting and all this type of stuff, and it's through social media, and they're reaching these huge audiences that you wouldn't have thought possible 10 years ago. Like, oh, you mean I could make this from my home, and through social media and networking, this is going to get in front of thousands of people. Like, it's pretty cool.
It's an interesting observation, and I think that something that I've definitely noticed, and Jordan, you were a journalism major, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when I was in school, things were starting to shift to the internet, but nobody really knew how they were going to make money off of it yet. They knew that that's the direction that it was going into. But now you have so many different people trying to do the exact same thing, some more qualified than others, and people can kind of pick and choose whatever news they want, whatever perspective they want. So how do you stand out? And a big part of that just has to do with like how do you stand out? You're consistent. You do it year in, year out, day in, day out. That's like again, I've been doing this for 7, 8 years now, and it's just sort of starting to catch on. Like if I'm being completely like full disclosure here, I wasn't planning on doing it this year, and we got like I had a kid back in March, and that's just been very time consuming, and it's a process just updating it all the time, and then just doing all the write ups and organizing it and actually going through everybody. But around late August, I started getting people asking me if I was going to do it again. That had never happened before, where there were people being like, "Hey, how's the tracker going?" It like wasn't. It was weird. It wasn't just like one or two people. It wasn't like it was some people that I didn't know particularly well either. So
Mm.
when you have people like giving you that sort of not even just like feedback, just asking you if you're still doing it, it's kind of like, okay, I guess I have to do it again.
People are looking forward to it. I was looking
Yeah.
forward. I look forward to it. It's nice because you don't even keep track. Oh, I mean, you do, but like as like the even like I'm a sicko when it comes to baseball. I'm not aware of who the hell some of these dudes are. Like when the Red Sox signed Cooper Criswell a couple years ago, I'd never heard of that guy before, ever. And your tracker gives people an alleyway to find out who some of these dudes are. I mean, not everybody that's low on the list is not a household name. Like I'm going through last year's because I was curious what
Yeah, yeah.
like the most down ballot contributor was, and it was Gavin Sheets at like 207. He had a pretty good year for San
I
Diego.
can't believe. Yeah, no, I was shocked by that. I thought, and this is maybe it's just him getting out of Chicago. I don't know, but like, yeah, I was very surprised that Sheets had such a good season. That's not the worst one I've ever had as far as like projecting them was that I had one year that I put Jed Lowry last because he hadn't played in like 2 seasons, and I think the A's. I forget if it was the A's or the Mets signed him, and he ended up having like a really nice rebound year. So I'm not infallible with this stuff. I think like I tend to put it over. I tend to be a little more conservative with guys that get injured a lot, especially pitchers, or if like I just think that they're going to get hurt. Um, I'm definitely a believer in the best ability is availability. So somebody like Pete Alonso, I think I put a lot of stock in just because I mean, the home runs, but also he plays every day. You can just stick him in your
Right.
lineup. Or Kyle Schwarber. Does he have a defensive position? Not really, but he plays every day and he hits a ton of home runs. So guys like that I might value more than other people that are going to put an emphasis on, like versatility or being like a good defender or that kind of thing. I mean, there's still a balance though with talent because like Kyle Tucker's the number one this year, and he's to me just head and shoulders better than everybody else that's available. And he's been hurt the last 2 years. Like he's played, but there's definitely been some injuries that have sapped him a little bit. And that's something you have to factor in. But he's also a 5-tool player, and all of those 5 tools are very good. You don't really see a lot of those guys. Like, is he Juan Soto? Is he Shohei Ohtani? No, but those guys are kind of anomalies too. You don't see these true blue superstars hitting free agency, especially pitchers. Like somebody like Yamamoto. I don't know when the next time we're going to see someone like that again
Mhm.
is where
It'd
you have a
probably have to come
yeah.
from overseas again. It,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be somebody in the States and all. Like I mean, Scooble maybe, but he's not. He's older than I
he is
think.
older.
And
He is
he's
older. And
like what
Jared Cole hit.
27.
Yeah, I mean Jared Cole hit free agency, but I'd still like that's not a 25-year-old that any team can
Right.
get. That's like it's that just doesn't happen. Like that's what I find myself saying a lot is that if they didn't have warts, they wouldn't be hitting free agency. So there's going to be a flaw with just about all of these. It's either,
Is
and maybe
that
that
wart?
flaw is just that Scott Boras is their agent. I don't know.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, is the wart? Is that another name for Scott Boras now?
Some
Is
of
that
it
just the
is, yeah.
wart?
I mean, it's good, but like the Tigers are going to be like if they let him go, I that's going to be absolutely crazy. It already sounds like they're lowballing him a little bit, which you just can't mess around with that. But you also have to think they're looking at Garrett Crochet and being like, man, they got this guy who's basically just as good and younger for less money. Like I would hate to be the person
I'm
negotiating.
not shocked if that's their logic. I hate if that is their logic. Like I've been I've been posting stuff about this for the last few days, and like people want to point at the Dodgers and say that they're ruining baseball because they spend a lot of money, and it's like no, the teams like the Tigers that are like acting as if they're content to let Tarek Skubal hit free agency. Those teams are ruining the game. And then like if you add a salary cap, it's like, yeah, another big market team's just going to sign your favorite player. And yeah, it's not the Dodgers and the playoffs might be more competitive, but like the small market team has no pathway to October unless like literal fatalities happen in the league because it's like all the cream of the crop talent is going to go to another big market team, the A's, the Brewers, the Angels. Like those teams are not going to sign anybody good. I mean, maybe not the Angels. They just won't be good when they get there. But like the A's, the Brewers, the Marlins, like these teams that don't spend money, those teams are the ones that are going to get boned in the end. And it's just it sucks. It's not the
I would
Dodgers
also
ruining it.
I would also contend that the World Series was pretty competitive, even with the
Yeah,
Dodgers spending all the money. And I mean, the Mets spend a ton of money, and they didn't even make the playoffs this year. Like,
right.
it's not. I don't think that it's as simple as throwing money at the best players. I don't think it's as simple as the metrics filling out. There's like if it was that easy to just distill down to its purest form how you win a World Series, you'd be seeing every team doing it. But it's not. It's an art. It's not a science. There's science involved with it, but the team that actually manages to do it, there's art and there's luck involved with both of those things.
It's actually an interesting point that you bring up, Ed, because the Blue Jays finished top 10 in payroll. All things considered, right? Top five. Thank you. Um, and like at the same time, they tried to spend even more than that. Just no one would take their money.
Yeah.
And obviously at the time Vlad hadn't signed his extension, and there's still questions about their last place finish the year before, and there not really being a clear direction. And they finally get Anthony Santander to sign this big contract over there, and then he sucks for them. Absolutely
Yeah.
zero factor. And it's like, okay, so they do have a high payroll, and yes, they're trying to like go out and sign all these big guys, but like the guy that they did actually spend money on didn't do anything for them. And Vlad was obviously a great signing for them, and they really they overpaid him for what he's worth, but then at the same time, you saw what he did in the postseason and through this year, and it's like, well, did they really overpay him for what he's worth, or is that just the price of doing business in Canada?
We
I don't
won't
know.
know until like
But
2035 if they overpaid him because it's like he's still young, he's an animal, and
Or
if they
maybe they'll
win a
trade
ring or
him.
two,
Maybe they'll trade him to the Giants in a couple years for a first round pick and
yeah,
a lefty pitcher.
they'll.
well, let me ask you something though with the Blue Jays, okay? Their number one player for B War this year was George Springer. The number two was
George
Vladimir
Springer.
Guerrero Jr. Who do you think the number three was?
Probably Bichette, yeah, and he's
Nope.
going to be a free agent.
My guess is Alejandro
Wasn't
Kirk.
Bichette.
Oh,
Nope.
Kirk,
Nope. It was
Andres
Ernie
Jimenez
Clement.
because he's a. Oh,
It was
that's
Ernie Clement with his 4.3 WAR. You know how much money he made this year? 1.97 million.
and he was a washout in Cleveland too. So it's like
He was.
that's the beauty of this game. And like, yeah, I think like it's definitely way more nuanced than just where you finish in payroll. Like the Dodgers, obviously, they have the best player ever on their team. So
Yeah,
they have a
and that
leg
helps
up
a
on the
lot.
competition. And like he pitched this year, so therefore their rotation's better. And they also spent a ton of money in their rotation. But like a team's got to be willing to go the extra mile. Just because the Dodgers are always the team willing to do it, that's not their fault. Like
Right.
Shohei presented the same offer he got from the Dodgers to the Angels. I'm pretty sure he also presented it to the Mets. I think he also presented it to the Blue Jays. He just wasn't on a plane to Toronto, like John Morosi said. Like I think he presented this offer to a bunch of different teams, and like that's a big investment because you don't even know how long Shohei is going to be pitching for. But the Dodgers don't care, and that's great. That is awesome for the game.
I mean, I don't think this is, I think, and I feel like if I had more time to think about it, and this is why I'm much better at writing than I am at talking. But it's not so much the money, so much as what you're using the money for. Because if you're just throwing things randomly, like if you're just saying, "Oh, this guy's pretty good," let's just, I mean, you're the Angels then, basically. Like you're not going to be a particularly competitive team if you're just by spending money on guys. But if you have an actual plan and you have the pieces that can fit into those roles, that's sort of why I was using the Ernie Clement example there, because they could have, like, you could have spent a whole ton of money on a guy that ends up posting a similar war, or you can find someone that fits his role for you. And you can identify that guy. And you can't do an entire team of those guys. It's not going to win you a game. But if you have one of them or two of them, that goes a long way because it gives you that money that's available to spend on those guys that you actually need to fill those spots. And I think what the Dodgers did that people overlook a little bit also is just what they did with their pitching was really smart. They had a bunch of pitchers that they didn't have to overuse during the season. So by the time they got to the playoffs, you had a relatively fresh Tyler Glasnow, a relatively fresh Blake Snell. You had these guys that didn't have to, pitch through like a torn flexor like poor Yu Darvish on the Padres did, or like with the Red Sox, you had Lucas Giolito literally on fumes, and you had to use Conley early in the playoffs. They designed their pitching to withstand the marathon so that they could win the sprint at the end of it. And to do that, you have to spend a lot of money, which they did. But you also have to be able to, you do. Because you have to have a lot of horses. You have to be able to identify the guys that are going to get you there. And the Dodgers break a lot of players. They break a ton of pitchers that they bring in there, and they'll have one or two good years. And then who's that guy the other year? Honeycutt. With he had like the turtlenecks like him. Like that was a top prospect that had like 4 Tommy Johns. I don't think it was actually that many Tommy Johns, but like a bunch of major shoulder surgeries. But they got 37 good innings out of him. And they just find these guys. They make the best out of the talent that they have there, and they turn them into stuff. And that's, I mean, it's a strategy. It's a plan, and the plan works. And I think that it's easy to just look at the money and say that that's what does it, but it's how you're using it, and the overarching, I guess, scheme that they have to get them through 162 games and then put them in a position in the playoffs that it didn't even matter that they had a wild card match. They just blew right through them.
The Dodgers had 17 guys start a game for them this season.
Yeah.
And 7 of them started at least 11 games. Like they burned through pitchers. Like they had a ton, and like their big expenses were, I mean, obviously Yamamoto, he made 30, but like there's number 2 on the team in starts was Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah,
like they had Shohei, they had Snell, they have Glasnow. Sasaki had a 4.72 ERA as a starter this year in 8 starts. Like Landon Knack, who is like a guy that I'd been hearing about being like pretty good,
rounder, I think.
Yeah. 5.12 ERA, 7 starts.
Yeah,
like Dustin May stunk for them, and Craig Breslow took him off their hand. But yeah, like it was Yamamoto and Clayton Kershaw in the big 2-5 were their 2 horses, and they got there, and like Kershaw got banished to the pen for the playoffs.
Yeah,
because they had all the horses behind him coming in.
Well, because they're big reliever purchases, because they spent a fortune on getting Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates, and I don't think either of them were on the playoff roster.
I know Scott was hurt. I think hurt too. Yates was hurt. Yates was hurt as well. Okay. So, but that like they spent a ton of money on their pitchers in general, and then their rotation, their excess starting pitching, which is another thing. Like this is why A big reason why the 2018 team was such a buzzsaw because they had so much starting pitching depth that like Erod was in the bullpen, Drew Pomeranz, I know
Yeah.
he stunk, but he was in the bullpen. They were able to they had 4 guys that they were rolling out in their playoff rotation, which a lot of at that time it
Yeah.
felt like it was really 3 horses and everyone went to the pen. Sox had 4 starters in their bullpen in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's why like when I look at what the Red Sox and their upcoming free agency, I wouldn't mind them signing a number 4 starter to go with the number 2 starter. We all need them to get, we all know they need to get, because a lot of people are already penciling in Conley Early or Hunter Dobbins or Peyton Tolley for that spot. And I think all of those guys are going to be contributors, but you need a lot of them. And I think it's very helpful to have veterans at the top that you know what you're like. Like think about a guy like Giolito that was just as reliable as you could possibly get compared to the rest of the rotation. Like you were getting 6 innings, you were getting 7 innings out of him pretty much every start. And if you get that, your bullpen isn't going to explode by the time you get to. You don't have to, like beat poor Zach Kelly into the ground like in 2024. I guess, I mean, Weiser got overused, but they were able to rest him a little bit down the road too. When you have your starters going deeper into games, that'll happen. But the starters get hurt, so you have to have guys that can replace them. And the Dodgers, I think, have done a better job than anybody at just maintaining the health of their starting rotation, even if it isn't necessarily the same starters, which is it's like, I think it's like you imagine like the ideal rotation is going to everyone's starting 31, 32 games. The Dodgers don't really go by that, but they always have starters that will get you those innings. So it's interesting to me that a team like that, and then you have a team like the Mariners, who lots of starting pitching, but couldn't get over the hump.
The Mariners are in a weird spot. Like, I thought this was their year, man. Like, I was ready for it, and I was ready to be all on the bandwagon of not just it's their year, but hey, look what happens when you invest at the trade deadline too. And it's going to be the perfect example of like you go out and you invest, and look at where it can take you.
Oh, definitely. The Mariners are a fun team. Like there were guys on all of these teams that I really liked. Like I'm a big Freddie Freeman stan. I think he's the best first baseman of his generation. You could argue about if him and Pujols are in the same generation. To me, they're different ones. But yeah, like Clement, I really like. Andres Munoz is my favorite closer in baseball. I absolutely love that guy. I'm very fearful for his arm after how much they used him down the stretch. But like, I mean, the guy's just electric. Like all these teams are fun. There's a reason they all get there. But I do kind of, I am curious, like just with you guys, what are your questions for me with free agency, just going in through like who's available and stuff? Like, I feel like that's like an interesting thing that I'm sort of curious where you guys are at.
Matt, you got some
Because
first?
I know you're writing some stuff up also, Jordan.
Yeah. So I don't want to give away too many trade secrets. No, I'm just kidding. I'm in the boat right now. Like last year when I did the top 25 off your tracker, I felt like I was like, okay, these are the guys I want the Red Sox to sign. So I'm going to predict that the Red Sox sign them, and then I'm going to be serious about the other ones.
Yeah.
This year I'm taking a step back, and I'm like, let's try and be somewhat realistic. Like, yes, I think the Red Sox are going to sign multiple of the top 50. But I don't think it's going to be Kyle Tucker, Pete Alonso, and
No, it's not.
Who knows?
It's never like. I should have stuck to my guns last year. I didn't particularly want Walker Buehler, but then they signed him, and I talked myself into it because that's generally how I approach the Red Sox. Like, I don't like being like depressive and negative about things, so I'll be like, yeah, no, I mean, maybe he can. But my gut on that was just like, oh no, second Tommy John surgery, little dude, like, oh no. But like, who do you want them to sign? Like, realistically, like what of who's available? Like who and who do you think like teams are like looking at? That's something I'm very curious about is who do people like when they go through the list? Who do they see as an under the radar guy?
Well, for me, and I talked to you about this a little bit when we were messaging about him, and I think it's
Yeah.
mostly just because of like where he's coming from. I think Cody
Yeah.
Ponce is a guy that like I've been talked into him being a real contributor at the
Can
major
you
league
read
level
the
next
stats
year.
off? Can you read the stats off for him? Just because,
Ye-
like,
yeah, let me pull him up real
it
quick.
is like absolute video game numbers. Like, it's what he did in Korea this year is insane. But
Yeah, he set the strikeout record. And so I'm gonna read off the Boomer stats too. Like I'm gonna give you his win loss record just to show you how
well, no, but
ridiculous this dude was.
that's like the win loss. That's the thing with stuff like win loss record. When it's a season that's this absurd, it actually means something.
Yeah, so he made 29 starts this year, 180 and 2/3 innings. He went 17-1, had a 1.89 ERA with 252 strikeouts to 41 walks. He struck out 36.2% of batters faced. So 30.3 was his strikeout to walk rate. His fielding independent pitching 2.15. So I guess for the people who want to be negative, there's some regression
He
expected.
got a little
He
lucky,
got a
but it's
little
not.
lucky.
But it's not. Korean defenders aren't as good as MLB defenders.
Right.
Like they're not in the same way that KBO hitters aren't as good as MLB hitters.
But
So
also worth noting that Cody Ponce's fastball jumped 3 miles an hour this year. Like Brad Keller had that same exact jump in velocity with the Cubs, but Brad Keller was doing it for an inning, maybe two.
out of the pen,
Cody
right?
Ponce is doing it for six. I don't want to get like too much into how like I don't want to get too excited because again, coming from Korea, it's a much worse league than Major League Baseball. But like he's not gonna have 1.89 ERA, and if he does, just tip the cap because that dude's a freak. But he's good, and I think that's a guy that people should be paying attention to. I don't think the Red Sox are going to sign him. I don't think they'll be in his market. They're probably going to aim if they're going looking at the back end of the rotation, higher floor, and then obviously swing big at the top of the rotation. But I think he's a dude that he's worth getting some attention.
Yeah, I think I had him at 48 initially, and now because of guys opting out and stuff, he's moved back. I think he's like 52 or 53. And
You
when you're
had
listening to this,
him,
God knows where he's going to be. But
which I kept their original ranking in
I want
parentheses
to say
just
it
because
was
I want to keep
47
track
or
of it.
48.
He was
Yeah.
48.
Okay, yeah. And it's just I think I ended up being a little less aggressive with him than I would have been last year, but Kyle Hart had kind of a similar season in Korea. Not quite as good. Like what Punts did there. I'm not sure even like Eric Feedy was doing, but I think I overrated Hart a little bit. So and then he came to the US and didn't have that much success with the Padres. So I think I was a little spooked by that. But he's somebody that I could see coming in and immediately being like a number 3, number 4 starter. Like if things go well, like that wouldn't surprise me if you see him do what like Feedy or Merrill Kelly did or somebody like that coming over from Korea. So yeah, no, I like that. That was I find it really interesting that he was the guy that you kind of pinpointed when we were talking about it before, just because that really is like that's if you were to ask me like who a diamond in the rough in this year's classes, that would probably be my pick for starting pitchers. Would be someone like him or like Anthony Kay, who did not as good, but also in Japan he had a really good season and is probably going to be coming back stateside.
Ed, do you know where the competition level is in like the Korean League compared to, say, the Mexican League?
Better than the Mexican League. Gosh, I went to a Mexican League game a couple of years ago, and it was pretty cool. I got to see Robinson Cano, age 41, I think, hit a ball 425 feet to straightaway center. I think it was like a 71-mile-an-hour curveball, like just obliterated it, and like just a lot of these. I mean, Cano was obviously the star there, but there were some other guys that had played in the U.S. that we hadn't seen in years that were having very good seasons there. So Korea's a little bit better. If we're comparing like the international leagues, I'd go like Japan is like AAA. I actually think it's a little bit better than AAA at this point. But if we're just doing this comparatively, it's like that's
Mhm.
AAA. Then Korea's the AA. Mexican league is high A, and then like Taiwan is like single A. Like if I were to do with like
That
the
makes sense. I was just
international
thinking
leagues.
back to like Robert Stock, and he obviously like diced and sliced and was like shoving down in the Mexican League last year and having similar strikeout numbers to, I don't know if he did 182 innings at 17-1, but I remember he had a sub 2 ERA for sure.
Yeah,
And
it's a bit
his
lower. I would say it's a bit lower.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but Stock, it's funny though, because Stock was pretty good in AAA this year for the Red Sox. Like they kind of ran out of like a use for him, but it's not like he was like a very competitive AAA starter for them. So if you do really well there, I guess it's like their best players are like AAA players here.
What was the name of the guy that we called up to start game 162? I'm
Oh,
blanking on
Jose
Jose
his
De
De
name.
Leon.
Leon.
Jose De Leon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
man,
was
he was
he was way better
terrible.
than
He
he
was
was way better than
terrible.
De Leon was. So
Terrible in AAA, and then he shoved in his call up. That was awesome, by the way. That was
it
super fun.
was.
And the Red Sox reward for winning that game was the Yankees instead of
Yeah,
Cleveland. That makes me
I
so mad.
I had that thought, but you don't want to lose a game on purpose. Also,
No.
I would like if you're. I hate that when teams are like just trying to get the easier matchup and that kind of thing. I sort of like the idea of like the team that gets the seed gets to pick their opponent. I kind of like that.
I'm not gonna rewrite history. I definitely at the time thought that the Yankees were an easier opponent than the Guardians.
Oh, I was terrified of the Yankees, and it wasn't even because I thought they were necessarily a better team. It's just that the Yankees hadn't won a playoff series against the Red Sox since 2003, so I thought they were overdue. Just like
Yeah, and the Red
statistically.
it's just so hard too to win a series like a best of 3 when you're undermanned. Like at least if you win, like I don't know, I felt like they also got kind of cute with how they handled things there. Like Durand having to play against Max Fried, who killed him, was one thing. I mean, we don't need to relitigate the wild card round, but like I don't know. I definitely was more. I was not more afraid of Cleveland. It was just that like the devil magic. It was going to be a more annoying series loss than losing to the Yankees. Like at least the Yankees had a good roster, and I could be like,
Yeah.
you just got beat, and that's how I feel. I feel like the Yankees just beat them. I don't
Yeah.
think the Red Sox beat themselves. The Yankees, like people point to all the missed opportunities the Red Sox had. The Yankees had a bunch as well. Like
Every team has missed opportunities. I mean,
yeah,
even look at the Dodgers Blue Jays. Like they each had guys get nailed at the plate that would have been the winning run, like in extra innings or in the ninth inning. Like that, there was stuff left and right like that. Like teams are going to blow opportunities. Like it's the winner's the one that blows less of them.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So let me ask you another question. Where were you at for like each position? Who do you think the strongest player is? Because this is something that I think about a lot when I'm grading them. Is okay. Like let's just talk about catcher for instance here. Okay, there was a very easy catcher number one. It was JT Realmuto. The next
100%.
best guy I had after that was Danny Jansen. And that tells you about the strength of this year's catching class. Some of them were a little harder than that, though. Like first base, there are a bunch of good first basemen this year. There's Alonso, there's Josh Naylor. Murakami coming over from Japan is probably going to be a first baseman from everything that I've heard.
Same with
Um,
Okamoto.
yeah, Okamoto, Ryan O'Hearn. If you view Luis Ariz as a first baseman, like that's more first basemen that are usually available. Like you have like Josh Bell, who's a free agent every year, is like I think like the eighth or ninth one. And Ty France, who won the Gold Glove, is like 10th. So because no one cares about defense at first base in the grand scheme of things, if you can't hit it. It's just interesting. So, like first base, where do you guys have like who's your top first baseman there? I felt like this was kind of a tricky one to do, not just from the Red Sox perspective, just overall.
If we're not counting Pete Alonso, because I think he's clear, I think he's definitively the best of the bunch. I would probably go Ryan O'Hearn second. I think just even though first base isn't a high value defensive position, him being a good first baseman is nice. Like it's just nice having a short there's nothing wrong with having a good defensive first baseman. Like it's not I think sometimes we get lost in the I don't care about first base defense, so it's almost like derogatory when somebody is a good first baseman.
So you're taking him over like Josh Naylor though?
Yeah, because I also think I think Naylor the power drop, like he went to Arizona and somehow didn't hit for power. Now he did hit for some more in Seattle. I don't know if maybe it was just environmental, like the just the vibe of the ball of the team, because the D-backs were a train wreck this year. I thought they were gonna be way better than they were.
They almost snuck into the playoffs too,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
thank you a million playoff spots. I love baseball being hockey.
Yeah. But I like the plate discipline. He's obviously cut down on strikeouts in recent years. There's some outfield eligibility, so if you want to throw a little versatility into the mix, and then yeah, I think the power. I think the power is much better than the 17 home runs he hit is. I mean, he went to San Diego, not the best ballpark for
No.
lefties. And
Well,
I've already done my write up on O'Hearn, and I have him going to a team that it's gonna be pretty funny when they overpay for him. I'm gonna say it definitively, like it's gonna happen. That
okay.
it'll be funny
Well,
when
that's what
they
you have to
overpay
do.
for him.
You have to be confident about it.
Yeah,
But you want to see something like fucking crazy. Look at Josh Naylor's stolen bases.
yeah. He had
He
what
stole 30 he
30?
stole 30 bases this year. It's like when I
What?
saw Juan Soto was a 30-30 guy, it was like the same reaction. Like, really? Him? What? Yeah, Naylor
Yeah,
stole
That's
30
crazy.
bases this year. I think he
You
had
could
like
have
10
given
most.
me you could have given me 3 guesses and I wouldn't have gotten within 10.
No, you would have been like thinking that like 15 was like, oh man, I'm going overboard there.
What's
I
crazier,
I would
Josh
have
Naylor
thought
stole
like
30 or Alejandro Kirk stole 1?
Probably Naylor stealing 30. Now, the craziest thing would be Alejandro Kirk stealing 30. That would be like
When he comes
that would be the craziest thing ever. Or
when he comes back next year at 5'8", 210 because he's mad that he grounded into a double play on a slow
uh,
roller to end the World Series,
the poor guy.
we'll come back to this when he steals 25 to
I
30 bags.
That'd be awesome. That would be so cool. But Matt, where are you at with that? Like with who do
y-
you think the top first baseman is?
I mean the top one outside of Pete so Pete Alonso's
So
the
we're all
top
in
one for
agreement
me. Yeah.
that Pete Alonso is like the best overall first baseman, because I do think there's
Yeah.
a case for Naylor. I disagree with you on O'Hearn, but I do appreciate where you are coming from on that. I just respectfully disagree. I like that Naylor's on base percentage is consistently like is so high, but I get what you're saying.
So I'm just gonna look up something real quick here, because I have a sneaky suspicion that this is gonna back up my argument even more.
Oh boy.
But I I'm not gonna say like, oh, like I'm not gonna go through and just like rank all of them as far as like where I think um each of them lands, but someone that I would consider to be an under the radar first baseman, and this is gonna sound awful coming from a Red Sox podcast, but Paul Goldschmidt is kind of a sneaky
I
lefty
kind of,
killer.
yeah. He's
You know what
38.
I
That's the
mean?
one thing against him there,
Right.
but he is a borderline Hall of Famer, so he's hungry to get over that hump a little bit, you know?
Yeah, like if the Red Sox were like, "Hey, we want to bring in Paul Goldschmidt to pair and platoon at first base with Tristan Casas," I
Kind of
kind of wouldn't hate it.
get you some
Like,
veteran leadership if Bregman goes somewhere else. I get it.
right, right. Like I wouldn't that wouldn't be the end of the world. And if for whatever reason they wanted to use that as an excuse to move on from Rob Ruffsnyder, who is the lefty killer in the lineup,
Well,
um,
and Romy and Nate Eaton.
right, right. So like there's lots of these guys kind of hanging around. So like I'm not even I have to think of things from a Red Sox point of view for myself first before I like
Yeah,
analyze it. I'm
yeah.
always like, how does this impact me? But I do like Paul Goldschmidt a little bit more than I think like a lot of lists would. Luis Arias, I know I see a lot of discourse on a
Ugh,
daily basis around him.
so polarizing.
I love his contact skills, but to your point about like not everything has to be about the Red Sox, I think that he is a very valuable asset for a lot of teams. So
Not
kind of
I
like
agree with you completely.
it's almost like the list of first basemen has to be different depending on which team you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
what's your top 10 first baseman for this team? You know what I mean? And then you
Yeah.
rank them cuz it's like
See, that's
it's
I no, but
yeah.
that's a good point. That is a good point. Because when I do make this list, and when anybody is making their list, there's a degree of bias in it, even if it's just listening to the numbers and you're only looking at the numbers. That's still a bias to whatever the analytics say. So there's gonna be that no matter what, that like what is your preference, and that goes. It's an interesting point. I think, by the way, Arise would be a really good fit for the Rays. I think he would do very, very well there.
Him and Chandler Simpson hitting back to back, and
Oh my
neither of them
God.
ever hitting the ball above 90 miles an hour would drive me nuts. But they would go like them two and Jake Mangum. I would
And
probably
IK,
die.
if IKF
Who's the
goes over there too.
Who's the number 3 hitter for the Rays? Because Simpson's, it's going to be like Ricky Henderson and Don Mattingly if that were to happen. Simpson is going to be on third base every time the number 3 hitter comes up.
It's probably Aranda, if I had to guess. Yandy,
Junior,
or is it going to be
Junior
Caminero?
Caminero?
Yeah. Caminero is going to have 200 RBIs if they do that. Like,
I saw some people floating around that the Red Sox should try and trade for him if Bregman doesn't resign.
There's absolutely no way the Rays.
And I was like,
no.
Like multiple people were like floating this, and it wasn't reporters. It was just people talking. And I'm like, what in what world does this? Why would the Rays do this? First off,
because somebody on Facebook wants them to.
Yeah,
but no. But the thing is, if they do sign Arise, then my dream of the Red Sox trading for Yandy Diaz can happen. Because I think he would be an amazing Red Sox. I think he would be everything that this lineup needs.
Ed, would you have given up Cedar Rafaela for Yandy Diaz at the trade deadline?
No, not for 2 years of Yandy or whatever he had left. No, definitely not. But, we think about it, 1 year left, and then you see if you could extend him. That changes things a little bit. But I'm not, you don't extend a guy for that long and then immediately trade him. I just think that that's a bad look for the organization. I didn't like it when they did it for Bronson Arroyo, and I wouldn't want them to do that again now.
Ooh, Shane Bieber just opted into his deal with with the Blue Jays.
Are you serious?
Well, there goes my Red Sox.
Yeah, well, I gotta change my list now. Okay, that's fine. I can take him out, and I'll put Imanaga in his place. That's actually a pretty easy transfer for me to make there. Wow, I was not expecting
16 million
that.
Guys. He took a discount to stay there. Like
unfinished, dude. He gave up the home run that lost it. It's unfinished business. That's loyalty. Good for that. Makes me like Bieber a little more. Actually, I wouldn't have minded the Red Sox getting him at all. I think that he's a good pitcher, but that's wild. I did not see that coming at all.
I just don't know how that makes sense with going into a lockout year. You know what I mean?
Just like it there.
Yeah. I guess.
Like it might not make sense from like a just like a money standpoint, but if he's comfortable playing there and he thinks he can do even better next year, like why not? It's a good team. They'll be competitive. It's not like the Blue Jays are just gonna go into free fall after this year. They've got a very nice core, even if they lose Bichette. Like it's a good team. So.
Yeah, they got Ernie Clement, man. Come on, don't you know? Most
Ernie Clement, man.
History.
Dude, Ernie Clement would be such a good fit for the Red Sox if they were to lose Bregman too. Like, it's not going to happen for obvious reasons, but like, plays good defense, makes really good contact, will steal you the occasional base, versatile. You can move him around. The guy got nominated for Gold Gloves at third base and as a utility player. Like, he'd be very. That's the thing with these Red Sox also. I know people talk about the home runs and everything, and they do need that, but they also just need guys that can make contact. Like, and it doesn't have to be Luis Arraez. It can be just somebody that isn't trying to hit a home run every time he comes up to the plate. It drives me nuts every time
That's the thing about Schwarber, though, that like scares me. It's like if that is their number one target, like he strikes out and makes no contact so much.
So but just think about it. Okay, just hear me out. The first two batters in your lineup are Roman Anthony and Kyle Schwarber.
Right. Yeah, I think Roman makes it easier because I think there's a difference between having a dude in the lineup that you count on for a lot of run production, and then the run production of your lineup counting on this one dude contributing. So, like, I would say, like, Kyle Schwarber is like Max Muncy's probably the poor man's Kyle Schwarber. If Rhys Hoskins is the poor man's Pete Alonso, like
I think I actually think that that's a pretty fair comp. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Dodgers can afford to have Max Muncy hitting fifth because their lineup is stacked around it. A bunch of dudes who are tough at bats, and you can deal with prolonged stretches of bad Max Muncy play. Because trust me, those exist. That happened
Yep.
in October, and then he homered in Game 7. Funnily
Yeah,
enough,
and everybody forgets about it.
but like you saw the Phillies, they were a lineup that was very contingent on Kyle Schwarber being the dude who hit 59 home runs or however many he hit in the regular
50, yeah.
season, and he wasn't that guy. He hit a tough stretch, and the Phillies could not do anything against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, nobody in the NL playoffs did because the Dodgers, are a buzzsaw. But I think I wouldn't be upset if they brought Kyle Schwarber back. I just think they need more annoying at
Yeah.
bats. And then if they also end up with Kyle Schwarber, then I'm over the moon. But
Yeah,
having Roman is a little bit easier because that's the dude you're hoping is the driver, and then everybody else can just kind of fall in line behind him.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I think it's so important that Bregman comes back also, because he does provide that different type of at bat from the right-handed side where he's not necessarily going to be your big power hitter, but the home runs are there, and he just doesn't strike out that much. He'll put the ball in play. He's like Justin Turner was great at this, at just getting the guy in when you needed to get the guy in. Like he was awesome at that, and they need. It doesn't have to be the whole lineup. Like you're not gonna. It's like I was saying before. Like an entire lineup of Luis Ariza's isn't going to win you much, but you need a couple of guys that can just put the ball in play when you need them to. And I mean, Massa, he's the guy that should be doing that. I have no idea what they're going to do with him. I would be as surprised if they just dump him, just like DFA him, as I would if he is the starting DH or the starting left fielder. Like I feel like nothing that they do with him is going to surprise me.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
'cause
weird. It's weird because there's this logjam of outfielders, but if they just decide to cut their losses with Yoshida, they don't have to trade an outfielder because they could just stick Duran there at DH and then revolve guys, like move guys in and out. And I know Duran's the worst outfielder of the four, but then you can utilize the platoons more because Rob can DH and you're not really losing a whole lot. Like they can get creative with it and not just get rid of a 4-WAR player because people don't like him on Twitter.
Well, I mean, the part of it with Duran though also is that those guys like him and Abreu are your biggest trade chips for getting a number 2 starter, because the guys that are available via trade are much better than the guys that are available via free agency. Like, I don't believe he's actually available, but Hunter Green, Freddie Peralta, Joe Ryan, who I think is the most likely target. Even somebody like I don't really like Sandy Alcantara that much, but even somebody like that, those guys are all like I would take any of them over Ranger Suarez or Fred Valdez. Maybe not Michael King, because I think King, if he's healthy, is very good, but that he's still an injury risk. He still missed half of his starts last season. Like I think that it makes more sense to me for the Red Sox to go after their number 2 starter, their wingman, for Crochet via trade. And then you can put Bayo as the number 3. You can do I don't know like what you do. Like, is Patrick Sandoval going to play a role? What do you do with Cutter Crawford when he comes back? I'm not really sure, but
Yeah, so like what is your ideal, like, so I think you probably just laid it out the way that I would lay out my own, which is the Red Sox trade for a pitcher, they use their money to spend on a bat, right? Whether that be, Pete Alonso,
it's
Kyle
Alonso for me.
Tucker, or
Alonso makes the most
Schwarber.
sense. There's a very obvious fit there with him. You don't have to trade Cassis either. Like, Cassis has options and he doesn't cost any money, and people get hurt. So if he's tearing it up in AAA, you just find a spot for him. You trade him. Like, he's a controllable asset that needs some work and needs some of the pressure taken off of him. So it honestly, you have someone like that there. It's not the worst case scenario. You have Alonso hit, I don't know, like 4th and just hit 1,000,000 home runs at Fenway. Like it just seems like such an obvious fit to me. I don't think they're going to do it, because I think that first basemen are generally undervalued in today's game, and they're going to look at his defense, and they're going to look at the fact that he's like 31 and probably wants a longer size contract. But I think that you bring in Pete Alonso, if it's like a 5 or 6 year deal, we might be talking about Hall of Famer Pete Alonso at the end of it. And I mean that.
I just don't think he leaves the Mets. I would just be super shocked if he did. And I think it's great for baseball if he's a lifer and sets all these team records. I know he already did for home runs, but like I don't know. I think I'm with you that if there's like a bat that's not well, let me rephrase here because I've been really starting to sell myself on Bo Bichette. And like again, I joked about this in the group chat that we're in together, Ed, that
Yeah. I mean,
like I had a hot flash.
you saw what I said about that, all
Yeah.
about him there also. So we are on different ends of the spectrum with
Yeah.
Bo Bichette.
I had a hot flash, and I thought that Trevor Story could play third base, and Bo Bichette would be my second baseman, and Marcelo would play shortstop with a capable veteran backup. Or you could just ride with David Hamilton just for the memes and pissing everybody off.
I was gonna
But
say, are you trying to get Hagi to kill himself? Like,
no,
that's like, listen, I'm like, don't be don't be jealous of him just because he got that sweet barstool cash. Like he doesn't. He's just
no,
doing the best he
I
can,
love my
man.
man
He's just doing
Hogdown.
the
I'm
best he
happy,
can.
man.
Then why are
Yeah.
you trying to kill him with David Hamilton?
Not trying to kill him with David Hamilton. Marcelo Meyer is trying to kill him with David Hamilton by not staying healthy. But yeah,
Oh God, I know.
my thought process that went because I feel like I do this every offseason. There's like that one outside the box thing where I'm like, they can get super creative here. Story plays third. His range is killing him. Why put him at another position he's got to be rangy at? Bo Bichette looked like a capable second baseman on one leg in the playoffs. And I know it's a very small sample size. And if you lose Bregman, it's not, I mean, it's a lot of institutional knowledge you're losing by going to Bo Bichette, but it's a very similar hitter in the sense that he's super annoying to, I mean, Bregman walks more, but super annoying to face, tons of contact, hits for decent power. I don't think he'd be threatening 30 bombs like Bregman would have if he didn't get hurt. But I do think you could get 20 to 25 out of Bo every year. And he's 3 years younger, which is where my brain was on that.
No, I get that. I get that. My whole thing. This is going into the bias thing. My whole thing with Bichette is just that I think he's going to age really poorly, and I think by the time he's like 32, he's going to be a very different player, and he's already somebody that's dealt with injuries. I don't think that that's going to get any easier as he gets older. He's not a very good defensive shortstop, as we've all alluded to here. Maybe he can handle second. Would I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing him in like left field at some point, like in the next like 4 or 5 years. So I think for the beginning of the contract, it's probably good. But he's young. It's like you said, he's very young. So you're going to have to sign him for a long time. And I think that he's going to get old very quickly. So I think that that's where my concern with him is. But it's also like with Bregman, he wants way longer than I think it's reasonable to give somebody that is, entering his mid 30s and has in the last couple of years gotten dinged up quite a bit. So I don't know how this market's going to be with that. I really hope like come February, we're not still having this conversation about Bregman.
Yeah,
Also,
and
like, I hope it's
it's
not an entire
resolved.
off season of them playing chicken. Like that's going to suck if that happens.
Yeah, I hope one way or another, and this is the one thing that's really frustrated me in recent years, one way or another, this thing is resolved pretty quickly. Like we're talking mid-January at the latest. That it's like, okay, it's going to be Bregman or it's going to be somebody else. And like I'm tired of it's February 15th, like we did it 2 years ago with Jordan Montgomery. It was mid-March.
Oh
We're
my
like, is
god.
Montgomery going to come to the Red Sox? I mean,
Hey,
his
he might
wife
this year. He's a free agent.
he could. He is a free agent. I noticed. I noticed that.
I would
Oh,
love for him because he had Tommy John. Just do the thing that you did with Patrick Sandoval last year with Jordan Montgomery.
just, and then you could throw your
Yeah,
hands up and be like, we signed Monty. We
yeah,
did it.
yeah. We got him. We finally got him. That was what I was saying when they drafted Braden Montgomery. I was like, yeah, they finally got him.
The funny thing is too, like I was so ready for them to sign Montgomery, and he it's been such a bad signing, awful signing.
I mean, do you think? I think that this is something that I think got talked about a lot of the time, and then people just sort of stopped talking about it. But he started spring training super late, and then
Mhm.
he immediately got hurt. If he had just signed a deal in January and he had ramped up the way that he normally does, do you think it would have been quite as bad?
I think if someone had just ponied up the money to him early on, that he would have. But didn't he have that little wart for an agent? Wasn't he a Scott Boris guy?
I think he was a Boris. Yeah, I mean Boris. Boris really screwed him over.
That whole offseason, it was him and Blake Snell were the ones that didn't sign until late.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Um,
with. I guess I
And
mean Snell
Chapman
had a
too,
rough
right?
start
Matt
too.
Chapman as well, and then also Snell.
Yeah, it was the
Mhm.
Boris Four. Remember?
Yeah, all of
The
them.
Boris Four. They just didn't sign.
Isn't
Who
Cody
was the fourth
Bellinger
one?
also?
Bellinger?
Yeah, yeah.
Bellinger is also
Ellinger.
a Boris guy.
But yeah, I proposed this earlier, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I don't think the Yankees are going to do it. But if they were to bring Bellinger back and then sign Kyle Tucker and then trade like the overhyped outfield prospects, that's like the best outfield in the league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have Judge, Bellinger, and Tucker in the same outfield, and you're DHing Stanton. Like, I'm just saying, like they're
And you get to
cowards if
keep
they
Ben
don't do it.
Rice.
Yeah, you can keep Ben Rice, and you get rid of like Spencer Jones and Martian, so we can stop because once they're off the Yankees, they're not going to be on any top 100 lists anymore. So you
Yeah.
can finally stop talking about them. You could probably trick someone like who do they dump all of their prospects on? They'll go to the Pirates, and that's how they get Paul Skeens. I mean, I'm fixing the Yankees right here. Like Cashman's not going to do it, but I'm doing it for him. I'm just saying they're cowards if they don't. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to go power up MLB The Show immediately after this. I'm going on OOTP baseball, firing up the trade simulators.
Hell yeah. Wait, which baseball? Did you say out of the park? You say out doing the out of the park? I didn't know you were. You know who's into that? Justin Slayton's grandfather plays that. Fun fact, and he always
I feel
drafts.
like I remember hearing that. Yeah,
he always drafts Justin every year. It's quite lovely. But I just like when I just like when people have heard of like my incredible nerd shit with that stuff.
I feel like I remember you talking about, or was that on your interview with
That
him
was with
he
me. That
talked
was when I
about that?
was. That was when I was still doing it with Parker. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Slayton was fascinating. Also, dude's like just like a very smart, absolute lunatic.
That's why he's my. I have a Justin Slayton enjoyer in my bio. I'm pretty
Hell
sure
yeah,
still. So
hell yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's got that one reliever that they love.
yeah, no, have to. So for you, Ed, so we talked about, you said the hitter that you want. What would be the pitcher that you would prioritize if you had to pick one?
I mean, Joe Ryan makes sense, right? Like he's like a righty with a funky
I
arm
thought he was
angle.
already on the Red Sox. I saw Fox
You were
tweeted out,
bamboozled. You were bamboozled, and
but
ESPN are bad people. Or Yahoo or whoever it was. They're bad men. They're bad men who tricked you.
I'm not
Yeah,
safe. I'm
no,
unwell.
no, no. As long as Yahoo Sports is still allowed to be free, until they're in prison where they belong, you're in danger, Matt.
We're gonna get a lawsuit here because I think pretty sure it was Fox Sports that tweeted it out, and
I
we're
don't
gonna
care.
get sued for slander.
Whatever. I don't.
It's okay. It's
They're
a
all the
pesky
they're all the
problem.
same. They're all the same company to me. I don't
It's
know.
true.
No, but I mean, Joe Ryan makes a lot of sense to me. If they can't get him, Freddie Peralta, or if he were actually available, Hunter Green would be like. I mean, Green would be amazing. You pair up
Yeah.
Green and Crochet, like that's
Oh yeah.
that's like two must see guys every day.
What about the other guys in the Reds, like Abbott?
I just can't see them trading Abbott. Green, I can at least a little bit understand it because he's making more money and he seems like he gets hurt just about every year. So I understand that a little bit. But with Abbott, it's like he's making next to nothing and he had a better year than Green did last year and he's a lefty. So I would be just the Reds being the cheap asses that they are, I would assume that he's not going anywhere. Lodolo, I could see maybe getting traded. But I don't know. I don't know if you want to double up lefties at the front of the rotation. I guess it worked with Sale and Price, but I feel like for me personally, I would much rather they have a righty as that number 2 spot.
Well, I was gonna say doubling up on the lefties in the top of the rotation would be like the Framber Valdez, the Tarek Skubal, the
Yeah. I mean, if it's
you know,
Skubal, you make the exception, obviously.
yeah, obviously.
But I don't think Framber's good enough that you do that. I think that there are better options than Framber. Guy that I find very interesting is Brandon Woodruff. I don't know
Yep.
if that's somebody that the Red Sox would go after because he is he has a massive injury risk. But that's a guy that I think might be the best, just pure talent level. Like he might be the best free agent, like for pitchers.
I wanted the Red Sox to sign him before he re-signed with the Brewers. That was like someone that I was
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah, they would have gotten 12
two off
excellent
seasons.
starts. Yeah, they would have gotten 12 excellent starts out of him. So yeah, so he's somebody that's. I mean, King, I would be pretty happy with. I want Bieber, I would have been fine with, but I guess he's opting in. Trying to think if there's anybody. I need to look at my own list now for
What do you think
this.
about Shota Imanaga?
That's a weird one, isn't it? I wasn't expecting them to let him go. Maybe they gave him the qualifying offer. I have no idea. Looking at his numbers, he definitely took a step back from his rookie year. Gave up a lot more home runs. Just in general, his FIP went through the roof. It was already a pretty high, but this was like a full run above his ERA this year. Just wasn't the strikeouts dipped pretty significantly too. And yes, he had less innings, but like the percentage of strikeouts dipped too. So I don't know if it was an injury thing. I don't know if it was the league catching up to him. It was kind of a surprise when he did as well as he did his rookie year. I think he's still a pretty good pitcher, but he's another lefty. So I don't know if like for the Red Sox specifically, that's who I would want them to go after. But I think he's going to go to somebody. Somebody's going to pay him handsomely. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there are any other stars.
You think about Zach Gallen.
That's the guy that I was missing with it. I still like Zach Gallen. I don't know what happened to him last year, and I don't know if it's like a mechanics thing or he's just getting old. Like, I don't know if
It's such a dramatic fall off, though. I feel like there's no
yeah,
just getting old.
it was. But some guys they just hit a wall, and then they're just not good anymore. Or maybe he got hurt, and then he just didn't tell anybody about it. He tried to pitch through it, and we get to spring training, and it's Tommy John and in the middle of March or something. Like that's such a wild card. I feel like the best case scenario for him is that he goes to a team like the Guardians and they fix him. I feel like that would definitely benefit him, and he seems kind of like a Guardians buy low 1 year sort of guy that they'd get. Yeah, he's interesting. There are a bunch of these like back of the rotation guys after that are interesting too, but not for that frontline role that the Red Sox really need. Like your Zach Lytle, Merrill Kelly is another one. Tyler Mahle is interesting. If you look up
He's another dude I was very fascinated with when I got to him.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of him. I really don't, just because I feel like he's been very good at times. We just haven't really seen that much of him either. So I'm not. I feel like that's another one of these just wild cards, you know.
I'm gonna drop my trade secrets on Tyler Mahle. He seems like a Paul Taboni. I can fix him. Like I think Washington makes a play for him, and that's where he ends up for 1 year, and he gets to go be the adult in the room, sit behind Mackenzie Gore and mentor Josiah Gray as he comes back from injury, and that's kind of where he ends up.
You're assuming they don't trade Mackenzie Gore.
I don't think they will. I don't think
Really.
Well, I think
Mackenzie
the time
Gore's
to have
stuff
done
under
it would
the
have
hood
been.
doesn't even look good.
I think the time to have done it would have been the deadline, and then when he completely he fell off a cliff in the second half. And not to say that teams in the offseason aren't like, well, we see what he did in the first half, so we know the kind of talent he is. But I don't know. I think the Nationals, especially a new guy like again Taboni, you want to make a statement, and maybe ownership doesn't want to go that far. But like I'd honestly I'd be less shocked by them extending him this offseason than I would be them trading him.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't really know how Taboni's gonna act. We know how he is as like a drafter and a developer, but we don't really know as far as like being that head guy with contract extensions and all that stuff. Like, and we also don't really know how far the Nationals see themselves as like being relevant again. So
it's tough in the NL East. It's still a tough division, but also like the team, and I know that this has nothing to do with player like the free agents at all, but like the Marlins, like suddenly were fun, and like if Alcantara continues, like he started trending upward in the second half, but if he's real or close to, if he's even 75% of Cy Young, Sandy Alcantara with Aori Perez and Edward Cabrera looked a lot better last year, like they're not as far away as I honestly would have thought, especially if the Phillies are going to take a step back. We don't know if they'll lose Schwarber and or Ranger Suarez. And then the Mets, who knows with them, like, because they just think spending more money on the same roster is going to make them better, and it just may not. And then the Braves are, who knows? I mean, hired another fossil to be their manager. So maybe Acuna hates him too.
Could be. We didn't mention Dylan Cease at all, who's another interesting starting pitcher there, but I think he's the most Mets player to ever exist. Even if he's not on the Mets, he is the most Mets player to ever Met.
I know he's not a free agent, but I would like to see them trade for Kyle Bubich.
Oh, on the Royals?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came back from Tommy John pretty. Yeah, it was so interesting because you knew he was going to. I feel like I'm saying interesting a lot. I sometimes fall into those one words, but no, like he learned a slider and was unhittable, and then immediately got hurt, and then you wait a year for him to come back, and he picks up right where he left off. Yeah, I like him too. Why would the Royals trade him?
They're looking for outfielders, and they're supposedly been reported to be playing in the top of the bat market this year, but we all know that they're not going to pay any of the top bats more than likely. So it would make sense that a trade like a 1-for-1 with Jarren Duran or including someone along with Jarren Duran could make a lot of sense for them in that situation.
I could definitely see Duran doing very well in Kansas City, but it's sort of this. I guess I have the same feeling with that as I do with the Reds trading Hunter Green, where it's ultimately your strength is pitching. Why are you depleting that strength when you don't have to? So but we'll see. Like teams, it's not like every team thinks like I do either. I guess I just look at that like, okay, we're going to be able to win games with our pitchers. There are a lot of free agents that you can sign that'll put up, like Harrison Bader. Is Duran that much of an upgrade over like Trent Grissom? I mean, he's an upgrade, but is he an upgrade? Is he so much of an upgrade that you dump Kyle Bubik to get him? Like I guess that's where my head is at with it.
No, it's a fair question, right? And it just comes down to like what are they looking for and what's the level of player that they're looking for, because at the trade deadline they were said to be looking for an outfielder, and then they went and traded for
They got
Mike
Yastrzemski, right?
Yastrzemski.
yeah,
Actually,
He was
Yastrzemski.
great for them.
Dude, I was shocked when I was looking at him. I thought he was going to be one of these random like fifth outfielders. He went nuts when he got to the Royals. Actually, Adam Fraser did really well when he got there too. Like I don't know what was going on with the Royals last year, but like everything that Hunter Renfroe didn't do for them, Mike Yastrzemski did do.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the John Schreiber was top 5 in relief appearances in all
Did a
of
good year.
MLB last season.
That's a very John Schreiber
It
statistic.
is. It is. He's been a very steady middle reliever that is going to be undervalued, but is very useful.
Well, Ed, let's we've been a little over an hour, and I said we weren't going to keep you an hour, so I apologize. We
You're fine.
got talking, and I know obviously as a father with a young kid, your time is precious. So
Appreciate that.
well,
I know the same is true of you, and I know the same is true of Jordan as well.
Oh yeah.
yes, absolutely. But you want to end with just one kind of under the radar target that you think the Red Sox could acquire off of your tracker that maybe would be an impact, or perhaps just maybe someone that is outside of the top 50 that you just would really like to see them target?
There's a relief pitcher I really like, Hunter Harvey, who I think has some of the best pure stuff that's out there and just hasn't been able to stay healthy. If you recall, he's the one that they traded. Like the Royals traded a ton to get him from the Nationals, and he just didn't do anything. And this year, he pitched 10 innings, didn't give up a run, and just couldn't stay healthy. But the stuff is really good. He's probably going to be available on the cheap. So you got a guy that could be, he could join. He could end up being like with Slayton and Whitlock as one of your setup guys for Chapman, and you get him for next to nothing. So that's like there every now and then I see a reliever and I'm like, oh, I really like that guy. And that's for me this year, it's him. If you want to name another position that's more exciting than reliever, I'm happy to do that also. But that's my guy.
That's kind of the only place that we really like need a level of upgrade, or someone that's in that tier of player. I
Yeah.
guess you could say like maybe a fifth starter or something could
For
be in
second
that
base,
sort of tier,
maybe.
but
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a little infatuated with Luis Rengifo. I know that that's sort of a polarizing thing, but I guess my thought with him is that you put him at second base until Christian Campbell or Marcelo Meyer is ready to take over. And then if he's doing well, you have a really good utility guy. And if he isn't, then you can cut him loose and not really think
I
about
just
it.
don't know that he's that much better than Romy. So I'm just like,
I think he's a better
I think in
fielder. I
my
think he's a
mind,
better fielder, younger, steals more bases, and is a switch hitter. I like Romy
I
a
like the
lot
switch
as
hitter.
I
Yeah.
like yeah, he's sort of like a high price Nick Sogard in some ways. Who I actually I'd be very happy if Nick Sogard was on the opening day roster for the Red Sox. He's probably my favorite guy in the system, but I don't trust Alex Cora to give me the things that I want. So he's probably knowing my luck going to be in AAA to start the season. But we know Cora likes Rengifo because he was talking about him during the deadline a couple of years ago, and he's a buy low guy because he had an off year after a couple of very good years. So that's kind of an under the radar that nobody would be happy about except for me, but I like him. So I could see a fit. I don't disagree though. Like maybe you just put Romy there and like let the chips fall where they may. But I just think he's best used off the bench as like almost like your infield version of Rob Refsnyder.
Yeah, I could see that. But I do know that obviously like Romy played much better defense at second base than he did at first base
Well,
last
I
year
mean,
too. So
to be fair, like he's played a lot more second base in his career. I think they should try
yeah,
Romy in the outfield again at some point. I thought he was a pretty good defensive outfielder.
there you go. Rob Refsnyder replacement right there. Why carry two platoons when you can just have one guy who plays them all?
No,
He
the
does it
Rob
all.
Refsnyder replacement's Nate Eaton. They already got
Yeah,
him.
no, Yeah, gosh, I wish I liked Nate Eaton more. I really do. He's very electric, but he just makes the dumbest
He's a
plays.
bonehead.
Yeah, he's a
He's a
bonehead.
bonehead.
He is Nick Sogard's antithesis because Sogard is not electric, but he does everything competently.
Kind of was in the
Everything.
playoffs though, Nick
Oh yeah, no,
Sogard.
that was great. Oh yeah,
That was.
when he made Aaron Judge his bitch, that was great. I love that. More
Yeah,
of
We
that,
should.
please.
Yeah, we gotta get him on the podcast and ask him about that.
Oh God, he's been on Pesky Report. Back, he was one of the guys I had on it back in the day. He's a great dude. Not he's gotten a lot better interviews also since then.
I remember hearing you say that you thought that he didn't like you because of the way that he interviewed with you.
Yeah,
But
yeah. For 2 years, I thought he hated me, and then I met him in person, and he is like a human golden retriever. He's like the sweetest human being you're ever going to meet, and like just a lovely guy that I always root for, and a good player. Like if he got like. I would. There is a universe where he gets a starting job somewhere and he ends up a 3-war player. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm not like. There's a universe where that happens. He just needs the opportunity.
the unfortunate truth is that universe was like 15 years ago when his cousin was an
Cousin,
everyday player.
but yeah, no, but I actually think he's better than his cousin was. That's the thing. I think that overall he can do more. He has more tools, but it's just not the way the game is these days.
15 years ago was a stretch. Eric Sogard in 2019 slash 290, 353, 457 with a 3 WAR in
Yeah,
110 games
yeah,
for the Blue Jays and the
yep.
Rays.
Yeah.
Of
He played
course.
for the Czech Republic in the last World Baseball Classic. He was their only major leaguer.
Face of the
well,
franchise,
Jordan,
face of the country.
do you have any closing thoughts, Jordan, before we send it on the way? Any previews of the off-season schedule for us?
I want to float out one more under the radar guy. And just because I know that if they sign him, it'll piss people off because they've already had him once.
Ooh, Franchi.
Danny Jansen.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not. I get it.
I was while I was writing it, I came across Danny Jansen, and I'm like, it's not that like it's not going to be JT Realmuto. The drop off after him
No,
is pretty steep, and like I don't think it'll be Gary Sanchez. Like
no.
as 3 years ago has passed. But Danny Jansen again he makes so much sense. Like I will never give Craig Breslow shit for that trade because it made so much sense. Brick wall back there defensively, pulls the ball in the air, walks.
No, the
Did
problem
none
was
of
that
those things in Boston.
he also didn't get another hitter to go with it. That was the thing.
Yeah.
They needed one more right-handed bat, and
Yeah, I agree.
Jansen will do it. The only I don't disagree with you that he would be a good fit. The only thing is that he's the second best catcher available, and he's going to cost a lot of money. And I
Yeah.
don't think, for considering what you're paying, like, Narvaez to be your number one, like, you're not going to pay your number two. Like, that seems crazy to me, to pay your number two like 12 million more than your number one. Like, that just
The
seems,
catcher market pisses me off. Last
it's
year,
so
it was
bad.
Travis D'Arnaud or whatever his name is going to the Angels like immediately,
Yep.
and then every other catcher signing, and us sitting here being like, "Oh, Carson
Seby
Kelly. Oh,
Zavala.
Carson Kelly's is gone. Oh,
Yep.
we have no one. No one.
Well,
No
I
one is
mean,
left."
Narvaez ended up being a pretty good investment with that, to be fair. Like,
That
they
was
were pretty
great.
smart about getting around it. But
Yeah,
yeah, there just isn't like I mean, ranking these guys, like, I've had to actually go and, like, there were some of these catchers had better seasons than I realized they did. Like, James McCann actually had a pretty good year as a backup for the Diamondbacks. Matt Tice, of all people, had a good defensive season, mostly for the Rays, and he walked a ton. Like, I thought that guy's career was over. And I definitely didn't think he was going to be a catcher, but he's probably he had a 2 WAR, like, as a backup catcher. Like, that's gonna get you an MLB deal as a backup somewhere. That's just the way that this class is.
Yeah, it's really a crappy class. And Austin Hedges was supposed to be a free agent, but the
Nope.
Guardians floated him 4 mil, and he didn't even hit the market.
Yeah, Luke Manley's available. I get him and Austin Hedges confused all the time.
Christian Vasquez is available.
Yep. He's. I had thought his defense had regressed more than it actually had. Like, I don't think he's the worst backup catcher you could get. I mean, like, if like Maldonado's playing until he's 40, like, I don't see why Christian Vasquez can't play a couple more years.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, it's been a pleasure having you on. I got a
Absolutely.
dip, so I'm gonna have you kind of give a plug for where people can find you again, and where they can find your tracker, and
Oh
then I'm
yeah.
gonna have Jordan close it out. So
Yeah. You just find the tracker on the Substack Beyond the Monster. You can find me on the Twitter at EdHand89. I guess it's X, whatever you want to call it. And I'm on Pod by the River. I've got some I've got a pretty significant change coming up in a couple of weeks that I guess just stay tuned for if you lasted this long in the episode. Something that's been in the works for a while and that I'm very excited to start doing. So just stay tuned on that. And yeah, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Sweet. Yeah, absolutely, dude. It's an open invite for sure. We love having you on. Love talking ball, and definitely going to keep my eyes peeled for the news.
Yeah, and I'll be looking forward to your. I'm looking forward to the article. I love that. Like it's really cool that you're taking the thing. Like, you're taking this tool that I made and you're using it to do something. Like, that's I don't know. That's like as big of a compliment as I think I've ever been given creatively. So that's like I like that. I appreciate it very much. It's just it's a cool thing to see.
Yeah, I love getting to play profit. Like last year, I went 7 for 25, and like 4 of the guys that I got right were re-signs. And
Oh yeah.
my ego tells me I'd do even better if I did 50.
Oh
But
man,
no, I
I can't even with this stuff. I'm so bad at it.
I I I appreciate the work you put in, because, like, again, like you said, nobody does it. It's a lot of work. Like, even going through it, and like getting down to Mike Clevenger at 169 profile, he sucks. And like, no matter what your stance is, as far as like if you're coming at it as a person or as a baseball fan, you're like, yeah, no, you are absolutely right. That is a very good profile of Mike Clevenger. Um, it's
No, yeah, no, it really is. But no, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on, and I love that you guys are. I love what you're doing with Pesky Report. I think it's awesome that you've been able to just take it and run with it. And yeah, if you ever want me on or anything like that, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we appreciate having you on. It's nice to get into the off-season talk. This is actually weirdly like one of my favorite parts of the
It's
baseball
fun.
season, is when it's just all hypotheticals.
It's a different sport.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. We get to live in a false reality for a little bit before our favorite teams rip our hearts out, and it's great repeatedly for 6 months. It's great. Um, but yeah. That'll do it for this edition of the Pesky Report, episode 530, the first one of the 2025-26 offseason. Matt had to dip a little bit early. For those on YouTube, you know that because you don't see him anymore on Spotify. Sorry to spoil it. Matt's gone, and I'm sure you could get that by me doing the outro and not him. But yeah, for Matt and Ed, again, thanks for joining us. I'm Jordan. Until next time, peace out and go Sox.